Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Media Show on the Pod TV Network. I'm Nick Pellavito. I will be your moderator for today's show. And today's show, we're going to be talking about hot topics that exist not just in the United States, but around the world. And with that, we're going to bring in Sasha Starr, speaking around the world, who's in Canada. And of course, because the Media Show, by the way, we got a big following on this show. Sasha, I don't know why. I'm just letting you know that a lot of people watch the Media Show. And I'm going like, really? Okay, so anyway, the thing is, the hot topic I have, which people won't care about unless you're a chess player, is the Chess Olympiad is going on in Hungary right now. And the biggest thing was the upset of the Ukraine beating the United States of America and Vlasiy Ivanchuk beating Leslie So. And I sat there and I just fell out of my chair because, first of all, they didn't put Lev Aronian in. I just cringed. Why didn't they put Aronian in? Instead, they put Ray Robeson, which one of my students was short. Ray Robeson in a tournament game. And all of a sudden, the U.S. falls to Ukraine and Hungary. So this is a big Olympiad going on right now in Budapest. What are your thoughts about that, Sasha? I'm sure you're following it. But and Ukraine, your country, beats your former country, beats my country, which is one reason I'm leaving. But anyway, go on.
Well, first of all, this is an absolutely fantastic event. There are 197 countries around the world participating in this tournament. And U.S. team is definitely the favorite. Well, now I would say one of the favorites to win, but still, nobody will be surprised if the United States will take first place. Now, concerning the game of Wesley So against Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk, for the last 30 plus years, is one of the top players in the world who defeated many times all the top players, including Kasparov and Anand and many others. So that result should not be a sensation, because Ivanchuk, even now, when he's well over 50 years old, he is still capable to inflict damage to any player in the world, same as 30 years ago and 20 years ago, and so on. But again, one game cannot be indicative of who is going to win the Olympiad. American team and the women's team, they're still favorites to win this tournament, particularly men's team, and they're all superstars such as Caruana and even the same Wesley So and Aronian, which is an extremely strong addition to American team. He formerly played for many years for Armenia, and under his leadership, Armenia won quite a few chess Olympiads back 10, 15 years ago. What's interesting is that the FIDE, which is ruled, sponsored, and headed by Russia, or I would rather say Russian oligarchs, is one country, besides Belarus, I should say, two countries, that have been tossed out of the participation in the Olympiad. There is no Russian team, either men's or women's. It's unthinkable situation 5, 10, 20, whatever years ago. But one should pay attention that since Garry Kasparov stopped playing for Russian Olympic team, Russia never won even a single Olympiad in the last 20 years, maybe even 22 years. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. The last time Kasparov played in Bled in Slovenia in 2002. I visited that Olympiad, and Kasparov was still playing on the first board for Russian team, and Russia won that Olympiad. But that was the last time. So for 22 years, Russia has not won a single men's Olympiad, and this year, finally, Russian team is not even participating in the Olympiad. So this is very significant development. And as I said before, the FIDE, International Chess Organization, is headed by Russians, including the president of FIDE, Mr. Dvorkovich, who was right hand of Putin for many years. So this is quite significant development, I would say, and this is something that one must pay attention to.
It's like a great
All right.
story and everything. I got a quick question for Nick and everybody else here and everything. Then it comes back to our conversation around media. I'm sure Utopia and even Shaquille would love this kind of conversation where it's going. But I love the way that whether it's politics or music, it can create strange bedfellows and all along those lines. Because we had this Taylor Swift endorsement recently and everything. And even though he made a comment about women and the women's place in society and all along those lines, there was a lot of memes and a lot of coverage around Taylor Swift literally jumping up and down excited that the team that her boyfriend plays for, Travis Kelce, and all along those lines, one off of a Harrison Butker kick and everything, and Harrison Butker is the one that made those comments and everything. So I know there's been some back and forth between her and Brittany Mahomes, because Brittany Mahomes apparently supports Trump, and of course Taylor has now come out for Kamala Harris and everything. But like I said, it's just interesting how in a sporting event, folks that may not agree can find something that they do agree on, which is namely the team that they are rooting for, and all along those lines. So I just wanted y'all's thoughts around this notion of the strange bedfellows, because I've seen that same conversation in concerts where there might be a gay and a straight person, a Republican and a Democrat, and they really don't care, but they're watching the concert, let's say of ABBA,
Right.
or just the name.
So,
of
I'll say a couple of things to this. So this Brittany Mahone or whatever, and then you've got all these Swifties that go, oh, well, she shouldn't have even hung out with her because she liked a Trump tweet and then she unliked it, and it's news all over the world. And I think, wow, like how stupid would you have to be? Like how brain dead would you have to be hanging off this and this be what swings your vote? I mean, you've got nothing in common with Taylor Swift at all. And what she thinks about politics is going to change your view. I mean, she doesn't live the same life as you. And I'm not going to say anything negative about her. She's got a lot of fans and things like that. But at the end of the day, she's almost my age. She's 35, singing about having, her first breakup like she's 13. So, I mean, look, she's made $1 billion doing it. That's awesome. But what makes other people think that they should allow their judgment to be gone and replaced with her judgment as to who the best president is? That just makes no sense to me. And more importantly, when people go and listen to music or watch movies or go to a sporting event, the reason that people that otherwise wouldn't get along can get along and barrack for the same team against the opposing team is because they're there to enjoy the sport or the concert or the movie rather than being lectured to about politics. So personally, I think that this does a lot of damage. And actually, one of the polls that came out, I think it was a YouGov poll, said that 8% of the respondents of that poll had said that they are more likely to vote for Harris as a result of the Taylor Swift endorsement. And 20% said that they were less likely to vote for Harris and more likely to vote for Donald Trump as a result of it. So I don't even think it did anything positive.
Hold on a second, Rick. Just really quickly, Jacoby, you work at a ballpark and everything. And one of the things I was talking about was this notion of how people can get together and be on opposite political divides and all along those lines. And I'm sure that you've seen that at the Bulls and at the Hurricanes, which is the two franchises that you work with and everything, where there might be people in the stands that are cheering for the team and not necessarily giving a crap what the people's orientations and views are and everything. So I just wanted your take on that, and then Rick, take it away after Jacoby answers.
Yeah, Rick can actually take it away. I mean, there's nothing really to add. I mean, it's just people watching a game. They enjoy.
All right. Just the craziest thing is what Trump put out yesterday on Truth Social. He said, in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift." I don't know how that helps him politically.
I was surprised he did that. That doesn't seem like it's something that he should be doing. But celebrities have been saying that they hate him and that they want to punch him in the face and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, as I said, I don't. Look, a couple of things. As I said before, I don't think that you should change your political view based on what a celebrity is saying. I think that they should take politics out of sport and entertainment because that's not what people are going for. They're going there to enjoy the game or enjoy the movie, and they want to try and get away from all of that stuff. And really from Taylor Swift, I'm surprised that she even took a position here at all because she knows it's going to alienate half of her base. There's a viral video now of Swifties for Trump where it starts off with one of the words to a song. I think it's "I Don't Know About You," and then a rapper comes in and says, "But I'm voting Donald Trump," and there's all these women in Trump shirts and stuff that are singing that. I mean, all you've now done, in my opinion, if you're Taylor Swift, all you've done is alienate half your base or half your fan base. So why do it? Just stay out of politics. It doesn't help you in
I would
any way.
like to mention something important. Taylor Swift, in her statement, she didn't urge her followers to vote for Kamala Harris. No. What she said exactly, and it was a very carefully drafted statement, that she did make her research, and based on that research, she believes that she will do better off voting for Kamala Harris. And she said that all people can do their own independent research and come to the conclusion who they would like to vote. That's number one. Number two is that she has extraordinary following in all social media and everywhere, probably like nobody else. And that translates to the following. The most of her admirers are teenage girls. Teenage girls is not crucial to the result of the election. What's important is that all these girls, they have brothers, sisters, parents, all relatives like uncle and aunts and so on. And based on the amount of dedication of these girls to Taylor Swift, most likely that members of her or their families as girls, they will vote for Kamala Harris or change their minds to vote for Kamala Harris. But again, that's debatable.
There's something seriously wrong with people if they're going to take voting advice from their barely pubescent daughters. I mean, that is a horrible strategy. Not the least of which is that part of the reason that she gave was because of Tim Walz's support of the LGBTQ community, which specifically one of the things that he approved was what I described before, and Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson have been talking about that recently. So again, support of the LGBTQ community is not just like the majority feels one way and nobody else feels the other. It is a very, very divisive issue as well in the United States, especially in how young people are interacting with that community. So if I was one of her producers, I would have said, why don't you just stay out of it? There's no reason whatsoever to get involved in politics.
Shakil, thank you for your advice to Taylor Swift. Unfortunately, she didn't get her advice in time. So therefore, in her statement, she never referred to Tim Walz or LGBTQ community, not at all. All she did say, she did her research. And based on that research, she will vote for Kamala Harris. And she urged her followers to do their own independent research. That's what there is to it. That's her statement, and we can
just surprising, so unique, so brave. Another Hollywood celebrity that's voting for Democrats. Just coincidentally,
just a quick thing. Oh, I was just going to say, we do have to realize that Donald Trump was the only reason he's there is he was a Hollywood celebrity, basically, and that's where his name recognition came from. And so the irony of saying that we shouldn't take advice from a Hollywood celebrity, and you've had Ronald Reagan as a president, Arnold Schwarzenegger as a governor, sometimes they do have an effect on the actual populace. And I don't think her saying what she did say in her statement was offensive to anybody. It's just that we want our celebrities to be on our side. Nobody cries about Kid Rock. Nobody on the GOP cries about Kid Rock and his support of Trump. Nobody cries about Hulk Hogan and his support of Trump. It's just we want our celebrities to be able to say the same thing or to echo what we say. And a lot of times these celebrities, when they make their decision, it's not really alien. They're just using their platform, just like Harrison Buckner used his platform to express his views. And individuals who liked what he said will support what he said. Individuals who don't like what he said won't support it. So it's just, we want our celebrities to be what we view them to be.
that's just not true. The Rolling Stones went and did just recently did a concert in Canada, and then they started talking about Justin Trudeau and politics, and what happened? Their audience booed them. Okay, we had that rock band, what they called Jack Black, and his bandmate that made some comment in Australia. It was one of their birthdays, and he said, make a wish. And he said, okay, I wish that the next assassin doesn't miss. Things like that. People don't like it. People are not going for the purposes of being lectured to about politics. So she's absolutely got every right to express her view. I'm not questioning that. She's got every right to. I just don't know why you would go out there and express a political view in such a contentious topic.
We just want our celebrities to be on our side. The same way when Jason Aldean had his thing, he preached for about an hour about him supporting Trump and all this other stuff. And then
if I was at a concert like that, I'd walk out.
No. But Shaq, nobody booed. They cheered him on. So my point is, when we go to these things, if they say something that we don't like, then we get upset. And oh my goodness, they're saying something like Harrison Buckner. When Harrison Buckner says things that people don't like, people will walk away or people are going to support her. It's just that we want our celebrities to be what we are for.
Look,
and when they have something different, then we get upset. And then we have that choice. Just like when Taylor Swift said what she said when she had that tweet, Megyn Kelly was a big supporter, but then she goes on her show and says, F you, Taylor Swift. So it's just one of those things that we want our celebrities to be where we are. And if they're not, then yes, we have opinions about them.
I know you've used an example of right-wing celebrities, but look, some celebrities are known for going out and giving some political thing, right? George Carlin would always come out, his comedy act was about politics. But I'm saying as a general rule, people don't want it, right? So some of those country music stars and Kid Rock, they get very involved in politics, but I'm not going to go out to his concert because of it, right? But and I'm not going to go to a Taylor Swift concert because of that either. I'm just saying, I think there's too much politics involved in every facet of our lives, whether it be sporting events, whether it be, Olympics, whether it be watching a movie. And look what we've seen. We've seen music sales fall. We've seen movies fall in their box office taking. So we've seen that. People are tired of it.
But Shaquille, on the flip side of that, I personally like, and Jacoby maybe knows this about me. I don't think Rick or you know it, even though I think I did make an allusion to it a long time ago. There are some political songwriters that I have always admired. I told you that I used to like John Lennon's Imagine. I'm a big fan of Gil Scott-Heron. Gil Scott-Heron made his whole living off of political music and everything along those lines. And I'm a big fan of Peter, Paul, and Mary, and even Joan Baez and a number of others. So there are definitely some folk singers that I'm a fan of. That is kind of what their core part of their music was political music. So they were doing
that's fine. But Taylor Swift is not there singing about political music. She's singing songs that her demographic is young teenagers. That's her demographic. As I said, if you want to like put politics into them, that's fine. Like, do whatever you want to do. I just personally wish that the celebrities would stop doing that.
But
hold a second. Just tell your hand to me. The flip side of that, and this is what I'm going to come back to, even after an assassination attempt, I have problems when after an attempt, you automatically, the first thing you do is send out a letter asking your supporters to give you money after there was an attempt on your life, which is literally what Donald Trump did right after this latest incident yesterday.
I'm not sure that in any way relates to what we're talking about with celebrity endorsements.
You're kind of endorsing yourself, so that to me does relate to everything.
A celebrity endorsing themselves, I think you've pivoted away to something that is just going to open up a whole new can of worms. So I think we should just stick to what we're talking about. Rick, you got your hand up.
Let's talk about eating cats. I'm tired of this Taylor Swift topic. Let's do eating cats.
All right, what do you got to say about eating cats? There are some countries that eat unusual animals and everything, but I don't know.
So J.D. Vance, in particular, has been pushing this idea that Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, have been grabbing cats off the streets along with, I think, geese and cooking them with no evidence of this. though some crazy lady in a different Ohio city stomped on a cat and then bit it. Not a Haitian immigrant, some mentally ill person.
So, Rick, I don't know if you saw the story that both the mayor, the governor have the bomb threats that shut down the schools for the past 2 days, well, Thursday and Friday, and they're actually doing learning from home today in different schools. They pointed directly that it was what you're talking about, that when Trump started pushing that out at the debate, it really caught fire, and that's why the mayor of Springfield and the governor of Ohio have been begging them to stop saying it, that it's not true.
How do they know that there's a direct causal link between what Donald Trump said and bomb threats to schools? But I just want to come back behind this issue a little bit, Rick. So as soon as he said that on the debate stage about eating the cats and dogs, I was like, whoa. And now the internet's going, oh, well, it's because the Haitians, practice voodoo and all this sort of stuff. Okay. I think that's all nonsense unless there's some evidence of it happening. And I think if there was evidence of it happening, it might be, a few isolated cases. It's not going to be a whole community doing that. And Haitians don't eat cats and dogs. So, but I want to bring attention to this issue though. The people of Springfield, Ohio are clearly frustrated. And one of the things that they've been talking about is we are potentially going to be homeless because we've had an influx of immigrants to this community, and they're getting assistance from the government. They're getting housing assistance, which is pushing up rental prices. We can't afford it. We've got nowhere to go. Now, I don't think it's unreasonable for people to feel displaced and to feel angry that they are, in their eyes, that the government is giving money to other people and not supporting them. How they express that, isn't great. We know that in previous iterations of immigration, right back throughout the history of the United States and Australia, for that matter, there's always been issues. When the Irish started coming over, they were, rumours were going around them. When Italians and Greeks started coming over, followed by the rest of Europeans started coming over, they weren't particularly well accepted into the community. And you're starting to see that again now. The difference is, I think, that you're seeing such a large influx of people with taxpayer funding behind them, and it's causing a disconnect and it's causing some disharmony in these communities, and it has to be addressed. Just like in the UK, the people of the UK are upset about immigration. And I think that it's very dangerous for governments to ignore that. It's not because I think it's when they just reduce the argument down and say, well, the local population is just racist. No, people are hurting, right? People are hurting in these areas. The UK, I haven't confirmed this yet, but the UK apparently is about to take away the winter tax subsidy or the winter fuel subsidy. That's going to mean that millions of Brits are going to be spending this winter cold because they won't be able to afford heating. And if you're one of those people, you're going to resent somebody, and the obvious people to resent is the new immigrants that are coming to the country that are receiving taxpayer dollars. So that's really, I think, a better argument for what's going on. To say that they were eating cats and dogs, yeah, that was silly, and I don't think that Donald Trump's won any points because of it.
Well, what you just said, your argument itself, yes, there's a legitimate discussion around immigration. We need to have a legitimate discussion around immigration, but we're not. And that's because Donald Trump and JD Vance have taken and run with the cats and dogs, and that caused a problem in the area, and that's ignoring the situation and actually putting extra pressure and problems in that city and on that state and on a populace of people based on exactly what the mayor and what the governor were talking about. Because it would be great to have that discussion.
Because of Donald Trump and JD Vance, that a lot of people say it's because of Harris and Biden leaving the southern border.
No, the mayor and the governor point out that because of what JD Vance and Donald Trump propagated from the actual debate stage, that caused the actual bomb threats and everything else based on their investigations. So we can, and this is where it gets aggravating, is because it would be great to fix that immigration situation and have a legitimate discussion about it and figure out ways to improve that. But we can't,
Democrats have
because
been
we've
there
got
for
to
three
get.
and a half
we've
years,
got to-
Jacoby. Come on. They've been there 3.5 years and they've shut down every conversation
We've
about
had
immigration by
years-
calling
we've had
everybody racist.
Immigration has not been fixed in years. It has not been touched in years. Obama kicked it down the road. Clinton kicked it down the road. The Bushes kicked it down the road. Trump kicked it down the road. It's always been a political tool. Nobody has ever actually worked on immigration since Ronald Reagan. And that was a while back. And until we have a legitimate discussion around it, we're not going to fix it. But when we did have an opportunity to pass one bill, that was Trump who actually nixed that bill. When we, that's just a fact. And
Well,
then
is there
just
anything,
talking about,
you can't blame Trump for? Is there anything he gets
No,
credit for?
no, it's just realistically, that's what happened. There was a bill that came through. Langford had worked on it.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
actually a very
It is-
conservative bill.
You're seriously going to suggest that the immigration issue facing the United States is Donald Trump's fault?
It was actually Biden Harris. They actually had a bill that they were going to sign, and it was Trump who nixed it. So
Yeah. They were going to
whose
sign it
fault
5
is it that
minutes
the
before
bill's not there?
They were going to sign it 5 minutes before the election. I mean, come on.
No, it was actually going to be
caused-
signed
they-
way
they
back in, what
caused it.
was it,
You know,
May?
everybody in the world knows it. That this border crisis that you guys are facing in the United States is solely
Who?
the fault
No,
of Biden and Harris.
Shaq, who stopped the bill?
I've given you my opinion. I'm not going to answer questions because you're trying to
So
elicit
because
certain
you've
answers
given
from me.
your opinion, I get that. But the actual fact of the matter is Trump said that he
Okay.
blocked the bill
You believe it's
because
Trump?
he
I
wanted
believe
that
it's
to
Trump.
run on.
Just really
He
quickly,
said that.
both of you, hold on a second. Just really quickly, both of you, because you kind of alluded to it, you told me, but isn't it an issue? Because I've even brought it up on other news shows. I think Sasha has brought it up even with Canada. I think you brought it up with Australia, that a lot of people are trying to deal with the immigration issues. And for whatever reason, it is an issue that people have a hard time dealing with, because I think I mentioned some European countries. I know some African countries that are dealing with it. And to your point, Jacoby, it is an issue that I think the last person that really had an effective policy probably was Ronald Reagan and everything along those lines. But a number of people on both the Democratic and Republican side don't know how to deal with it, even though that is a large voting bloc. So they
Well,
need to-
I've got an idea. How about if we're going to be a supposed democracy, that we actually listen to the people? Because when you poll people, the overwhelming majority of them have an issue with this level of immigration. Now, what are we saying? Okay, again, United States, you're all really unique and special. Let's go elsewhere. All of Europe is in turmoil right now because of immigration. The UK is in turmoil right now. There's massive protests going on. We've got travel advisories. Some countries have got travel advisories on going to the UK. Why? Because of immigration. Canada, not so much, but they've got some concerns about immigration. Australia, we've seen more immigration under this Labor Party than at any other time. It's caused inflation, lack of housing, higher cost of living pressures. Everyone's unhappy. What are they unhappy about? Immigration. New Zealand, same issue. Go across the Western world, same issue, immigration. Now you go to the United States and it's Donald Trump's fault. No,
but
left-wing parties in the Western world have been very, very lax on immigration. Hang on, let me finish. Let me finish. Left-wing parties around the Western world have been very, very lax on immigration. It's boosted the rates. You've had immigration, which has cost the taxpayer dollars. That's diverted money away from other services. It's caused the government to cut funding for other services, and it's driven up the cost of living, making it more difficult for people to survive. And to reduce their pain down to, well, you're just racist, is not helpful in any way. So let's deal with the issue.
Is it part of the issue? Hold on a second. Is it part of the issue, the bias that exists? Because part of what happened was the way that the Haitians were treated versus the Cubans, and that was way back in the 90s and the 2000s and everything. So there is some bias, and I understand that there's bias.
There was bias against white Irish as well. There was bias against white Irish as well when the Catholic majority, when the Protestant majority in the United States would put up signs saying no Catholics need apply for jobs. You know, but there's always been biases around. To all of a sudden call this racist because the Haitians are black. I mean, come on now.
Shaq, we're not even adding that in. What I'm specifically saying, and immigration is a problem. We all agree on that. But again, when there was an opportunity to put a bill on the floor and sign that bill. That was to actually have an effect on immigration, legitimate, tangible effect on immigration, based on conservatives, based on the and this is just talking about in the U.S., based on the Border Patrol agents who actually backed it, based
I'm
on
aware of
all
what
the
you built.
individuals. No, but
I'm
it
aware
was
of your
actually
argument.
a legitimate bill that was on the floor. So that gets blocked by Donald Trump. That is why we're saying that it's Trump's fault on that, because
And
everybody was on board.
Jacoby,
Everybody was on board to sign that bill, except for
Jacoby.
Trump.
Jacoby, first of all, Trump doesn't get a vote. Secondly, I
He
understand I understand your argument. I think it is dishonest and disingenuous, and I don't agree with it.
Dishonest.
Okay,
How's it
so
dishonest?
you can say that, and you can have that. You can have that as an opinion. I think that you are so biased towards the Democrats
Help me understand how it's
there's
dishonest.
nothing that you won't twist in order to fit your narrative.
Help
So
me
I don't
understand
agree.
how it's
So hang on,
dishonest.
I respect you having that opinion. I just don't agree with you. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't be too worried that I don't agree with you, because I'm not American. I don't get to vote in your elections, so it doesn't matter what I
I'm
think.
just asking, how is it dishonest?
It's dishonest, Jatovi, because Joe Biden could have done this years ago. He finally did it coming up into an election because he knew it was such a bad issue. Okay, and now they're trying. What they were trying to do was they were trying to twist it so that, well, actually, it wasn't us. We wanted to pass this, and they blocked it. Also, he could have done it by executive order, because that's what they told Trump to do. And also, I will just add,
His orders were blocked by the court.
bill, the way that the bill read was, you were still going to allow 5,000 a day or something to come in.
There was a
Okay, so
5,000
it didn't go
cap, so therefore it would have stopped.
But 5,000 a day is roughly 150,000 a month. Okay, I mean it was not nearly enough. Plus, you had to deal with the existing issue of the immigrants that were already in the United States. Okay, so look, I'm not gonna debate it with you. You've got your view. You think it's on Trump's fault. I think that this is Biden's fault.
I still don't understand how it's dishonest, because again,
I'm not going to ever be able to. I'm not going to ever be.
I know. I'm just trying to help you out. Understand my position. Just understand my position as well. Just because we can go to Rick real quick.
Jatovi, I understood your position. I just don't agree with you. What's the point? I will never be able to persuade you of anything. What's the point? I'm never going to be able to persuade you of anything. It's been 3 years of me not being able to persuade you of anything.
Matter of persuasion.
Disagree.
Now you're saying that we can't even discuss. We can't even talk.
We have. There's other people here that want to talk. What else is there to discuss? We just don't agree. What's the difference?
I just want to discuss.
All right, so Europe, which has two.
Discuss what? You want to browbeat me with your facts until I have to answer?
Rick.
Europe has 2 to 3 times the percentage of recent immigrants that the U.S. does. One thing that makes us lucky is we're a huge ass country that can, absorb more immigrants. And then I forgot what's my other the one reason, we don't get any action on immigration is we have a tied House. We have a tied Senate. And over the past 10, 20 years, there's been less and less incentives for each side to work together. And the most recent House is particularly bad because they're tied. They can't get anything done. They're the least effective House in history. Now, that doesn't explain the previous.
Biden changed the rules, so he relaxed the rules. You had immigrants coming in that were lined up before his inauguration with "Thank you, Biden" shirts and things like that. You saw the biggest increase in migration coming through the United States than at any other time that I'm aware of in recorded history, except for after World War II. Are we serious right now? Like, how can you? Let me explain something. And also, if immigration is your strength and diversity is your strength, and you're going to attribute immigration to Trump, then I take it that you're supporting Trump. Then, I mean, come on.
So Shaq, let me help you out. When Trump was in office, he tried to rule by executive order on immigration, even by trying to shut down the government, because his executive orders were being challenged in the courts. The only thing that stopped immigration was COVID. because nobody was moving during COVID. That's when immigration really plummeted. It wasn't the fact that Trump did something so great that, oh my gosh, he was so smart on this. No. So what ended up happening was COVID stopped a lot of the immigration at that time. The Remain in Mexico policy was based on the actual COVID regulations that kept people where they were. So when that was going to be challenged in courts under the Biden administration, it was not going to stick. It was gone. And then on top of that, Mexico was not going to, let me finish. Mexico was not going to agree with a Remain in Mexico policy again. They've stated that multiple times. That immigration push, again, we just legitimately had a year where everything was shut down. Nobody was moving. When the world got back up and running, what spiked? Everything. Inflation spiked because you had your supply chains that were down. You had so many things that jumped up. You had immigration, people moving around because they had never moved in a year. So you had all these spikes that happened. And yes, I will attribute it that part of it was due to the policies of pulling some of the sounding more welcoming at the border. But either way, a lot of the spikes happened all around because of COVID. A lot of the tanking at the end of Trump's term happened because of COVID. So we've got to be balanced on that. So at the end, so
countries that have been run by
this moment, real quick, Shaq, at this moment right now, the actual immigration numbers are roughly about where Trump's were in his last year in office before COVID hit. So again, there were spikes, there was movement, there's a lot of stuff that happened, and trying to say that, oh, well, Biden, because he couldn't rule by executive order because of the same reasons why Trump couldn't. So he tried to go through legislation, and just as Rick pointed out, and that is the problem with what's going on with our immigration policy or getting any policies through, is because everything has become so political, and we're in this tribal politics, wanting this power. We're not even working together anymore to work on immigration policy. So it's almost impossible. So when that bill came up, which was actually one of the most conservative bills, put money on the board, money on the wall. They had a cap on there of 5,000, which Langford agreed to. Had a bunch of conservative actual policies that were there. But when that came to the floor, when that was coming out, Trump said he wanted something to run on. To block the bill. He said that. He even campaigned and said, "Thank you." I forgot his actual verbiage, but actually saying, "Yeah, thank me for blocking this," or so on and so forth. So it was he who blocked the bill. It was one of those things that we had an opportunity that it was taken away, and based on exactly what Rick said, we had a chance. But
Jacoby, you just repeated a whole heap of things that we already agree on. I know that was the case. I just don't agree that it's Trump's fault that you've got the immigration levels that you've had over the last 3.5 years. I think it's Biden's fault. I think that when Biden says that he wants a surge of immigrants to the border, I think that when there's the amount of funding and incentives for people to come, I think that has played a much bigger part. And as for the issue of Trump not wanting this to be passed recently, that maybe is an argument for what's happening right now, but it certainly isn't an argument for what's happened over the past. As I've said, I am never going to be able to persuade you anything negative,
and I'm never going to be able to persuade you.
Right? So as we were like 10 minutes ago, why don't we just agree to disagree? You see it your way, I see it mine. Okay, but you've repeated that. But what you've done is you've repeated all those points.
You're repeating you.
That's not going to persuade me. But I'm aware of those points. You haven't told me anything I don't know.
Shaq, I'm not trying to persuade you. We're both expressing our opinions and our views on immigration. We just happen to be talking together. So I'm not trying to persuade you, just as you're repeating yourself, not trying to persuade me. I can express my position just as you can express yours. So we're talking to an audience that's not in front of us, that we're not directly seeing. So
you don't think the audience that watches our shows is aware of these issues?
Do I assume that the audience is not aware of these issues? There is some may
All right,
be, some may not
let's
be.
just
Why
move on. Let's
do
just
you?
move on. Let's just
Yeah,
move on.
either allow me to express my position just as you, then be happy. Like, hey,
Okay, well,
I don't get that.
Jacoby, have the next. Jacoby, I don't mind. I'll sit back. Have the next 20 minutes. You can repeat everything you've said 3 or 4
No,
times.
it's okay. You repeated yours 5 or 6. I'm still catching you.
That's
Right.
great. Yeah, well done, Jacoby. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Rick, Joshua.
I'm looking up some other stuff we can talk about. We've hit these things again. Do
Well,
we
I'd
need
like to talk about this debate, the allegation that look, we don't know whether it's true or not. It certainly looks real, but we don't know that yet. Certainly, if it's postmarked by, what was it, registered post or whatever, to the Speaker of the House and to the writer's own house and things like that. If it is true, it can be verified that the ABC or the ABC reporters or whatever had leaked the questions to the Harris campaign and additionally had agreed not to ask her certain questions, as has been alleged, and to ask Trump questions and to fact check Trump and not fact check her. If that allegation's true, what does that mean for ABC? I mean, surely that would have to have a serious effect on their credibility as well as having a pretty serious effect on her campaign.
Well, I worked for ABC for 12 years, and they have a huge bureaucracy bloated with middle managers. I highly doubt that they're all designed to keep ABC from being sued. I sued ABC, by the way, so I know that whole structure. There's no way that they would put themselves in legal jeopardy by effing around with the structure of the freaking.
They didn't.
Also, any reasonable hold on, and any reasonable person could guess what questions were going to be asked. Also, neither of them answered the questions they were asked. They answered.
Okay, so Rick, one of the things was that he got fact checked, and this was in that affidavit that's purported to have been signed on the 9th of September before the debate even happened. Now, how would a person predict that?
Let me point out a pattern here. Anytime Trump loses, or it looks like he loses, somebody else cheated. That is every single time. Trump, when he lost the elections, or actually when he lost the popular vote in 2016, oh no, that's not really it. Somebody cheated. When he lost in 2020, he's still riding on this idea that somebody cheated. When somebody does better than Trump in anything, they cheated. That's what's going on here. There's the conspiracy. Old Kamala Harris had earrings that were actually secret mouth microphone or headphones where people were reading stuff into her ear. He went on stage saying that conspiracy just the other day. So if this is a pattern of Trump, that anytime he loses, and it's the same thing. Anybody who defends him, it's the same thing.
Jacoby, yeah, we've got it that you don't like Donald Trump. Neither does Sasha. But that in no way did the answer you just give answer my question. My question was, if there was any validity to the allegation, what effect would that have on ABC, and what effect would it have on the campaigns?
Hold on a second. As a journalist, I'll answer that question. If they find validity, it would be similar to that Washington Post reporter that had a story, and then the story turned out to be a made-up story, and yes, they would lose a lot of validity if that is the case, and that is just a known fact based on journalism. I'm thinking of Joan, and I can't remember Joan's last name, but you know the reporter that I'm thinking about and everything. So yes, that would be the issue. Now, the other thing that I'll just add to this from a journalistic standpoint and everything, because I do know this for a fact because it was reported and they even admitted that, and I think that Lindsay did the better job versus David Murr in terms of being the moderators, because I did think that she pushed back and everything. But even Lindsay Murr, Lindsay Davis herself said that part of the reason that she asked Donald Trump one of the questions that she asked was because she felt it wasn't answered in that first debate that was held before this debate. So
think about it. And just another thing, though.
If you're in charge of ABC, do you think that there is a conflict of interest when you've got somebody who is a sorority sister interviewing her, You've got the head of that news desk, who is a personal friend of Kamala Harris's, who apparently introduced her and her husband, or responsible for her and her husband getting together or something. But there's an appearance of impropriety. Why
No.
wouldn't you take steps to just make sure? Like CNN did a pretty good job. Why wouldn't you just try to
Again,
make sure that you would be above reproach? Now,
again,
but
let
the other
me-
question I asked was, what effect do you think this will have on the campaigns, if there's any validity to it? Because people, I don't think they'll be able to determine this before the election. So people are either going to believe it was rigged or it wasn't. Just like
again,
everything else.
Question. As soon as
again,
you-
the reason why, real quick, the reason why people were excited, especially in the MAGA wing, the reason why people were excited and okay with the CNN debate is because Biden lost badly. And it wasn't Trump that made Biden lose. It was Biden lost himself. Now they're upset and questioning everything.
The way the question for
And
us,
when you talk about being above reproach, if Trump looks bad in any light, no matter what it is, and it is his fault what he did on stage in that debate. It wasn't the questioners. Regardless if Harris knew about the question about immigration, but it was Trump who brought up dogs and cats. So all these things are all conspiracies to throw off the fact that Donald Trump had a bad debate. And every single time, it is a pattern. You can watch everything from every debate, everything that he said. It goes back to a pattern. It goes back to a pattern that, again, you're saying, well, if it was, and all this other conspiracy stuff. This is conspiracy. There's nothing that's going to be above reproach if Donald Trump looks bad from any light. You'll come up with some excuse that, oh my gosh, Kamala Harris had the questions ahead of time. That's what made Trump talk about crowd size. That's what made Trump talk about dogs and cats, because he didn't know the questions and couldn't prepare an answer. No. He had a bad debate. There's no conspiracy around it. Biden had a bad debate. Just take the lumps and then go to policy. But we get tied up in these conspiracies, and that's the frustrating thing. And that's why people get upset, is because why are we talking about if this was? It was some right-wing conspiracy theory that has now hit the ethos. Now we're having to go down some rabbit hole, just like with the dogs and cats, just like with all this other stuff. We can't have legitimate discussions because of those things.
Find that out. Before you start writing it off as being a conspiracy, we're going to find out in the next few days, presumably, when the Speaker of the House receives the envelope, and when the author of the affidavit receives the postmarked envelope. But in any case, Toby, you obviously don't want to answer those questions. Rick, I tried. I'm being stonewalled as usual, so you have a go. You've booked up some questions to ask us.
But
Have a go.
Toby, do you think that ABC? Because I said
You're muted.
will
You're
ABC
muted,
be heard by some of the questions? I think that's what Shaquille was asking you.
Well, he knows what I'm asking him. He's not answering it, Mark. So you ask him the same question. He's just going to repeat it.
Something bad happened to the people that gave the question. Nobody gave any questions. But if there is possible that somebody gave somebody a question, sure, there should be repercussions. But nobody gave a question.
When CNN conducted that interview, the reason I said it was a pretty good interview. A debate. The reason I said that was because of how they worded their questions. They were not accusatory towards Donald Trump. They asked him the questions, allowed him to respond. They weren't accusatory towards Joe Biden. They asked him the questions, and he had the opportunity to respond. In the Joe Biden-Donald Trump debates in 2020, there wasn't many excuses being used. Almost everybody universally said that Donald Trump's behaviour on that stage was not presidential, and he absolutely lost that debate to Joe Biden. Okay, it was a difficult debate to watch. It was awful. So, yes, Donald Trump often makes excuses, but that wasn't the question. If I'd asked, hey, do you think that Donald Trump's making excuses and running a conspiracy theory, that would have been an appropriate answer. That wasn't an answer that you were giving me, and that's fine. Let's just move on to the next topic. Rick, Sasha, someone?
Shaquille, I want to hear from Shaz as well, but we only got about 10 more minutes to go. But I will just bring up something that you kind of alluded to and everything. And I think that it's something that I hate to use this word because I know Jacoby uses it way too often, but it is a little bit disingenuous for us to bring up this notion of sorority and other connections, because presidents forever have had connections, whether it was sororities, whether it was the Masons, whether it was whatever, but they've had connections that they have used.
Yes, and you know what? And you know what? When George Bush was the president, we heard all about the skull and crossbones. We heard all about Freemasons and all the conspiracy theories and the Council of Foreign Relations and all this stuff. We've heard all of these conspiracies. But when it's the right wing saying against the left wing, oh no, how dare they? The fact of the matter is, anybody with any ounce of sincerity is going to say to you that the media is en masse very biased towards the left. And maybe there's good reasons for that. Generally, in the past, it was because investigative reporters would like to be able to go after big companies that do things that hurt the population, cigarette companies that pollute the water, Monsanto and their actions in the in the food production business and farming and all that sort of stuff. Now, what do we see? We just see them saying, hey, we're just unabashedly, unashamedly going to support Democrats no matter what, in a way that distorts the news cycle. And I think that when you have a look at the polls and you see that US media is trusted least by US citizens, less than any other country trusts its media, there's a problem. When we're complaining here in Australia about what some of our media is doing, and that is amplified dramatically in the United States. But because Democrats think that they're on their side, they just let it go. And then they sit there and they go, well, how come we get election results that surprise us? How come people don't like this? We just can't figure out why.
Shaquille, I'm a journalist major and a journalist by trade, and I can tell you this has been a problem in terms of the trust ability of journalism for a number of decades. I mean, the last journalist that I really trusted was Walter Cronkite and everything. So this is going way back to like the yellow journalism days and a number of things. And that was on both the right and the left. So I think journalism has had a problem for a number of years. And that's just my honest opinion as a member of that family. And everything.
Absolutely. But I think we should hope for and expect that instead of having all of these mainstream media outlets, which are on the left, and then a few that are on the right, like Fox, how about just having something that's a little bit more, moderate, just a little bit more like we're not here to give you our opinions. We're just going to present the news and let you guys make your own decisions instead of trying to influence public opinion by selectively presenting some facts and by distorting others.
So this is the fallacy that we have to deal with. Number one, the number one watched media is Fox. Fox was sued billions of dollars for lying by not one company, but two. So let's be honest here. The number one media is Fox. If you're talking mainstream with the most viewers, it's Fox. On radio, it used to be Rush Limbaugh. Then on top of that, local news is owned by many right-wing or right-leaning individuals from Sinclair Media on. So we have to stop the fallacy that the news and all this media is all this left-wing. It's untrue. It is very untrue. So just to get back to the point of, yes, the media being least trustworthy and stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of people get their media, especially nowadays, from different YouTubers they can find or different Facebook venues or Twitter or so on and so forth, because we are our own problem. We try to find something that confirms our bias and not challenges our bias anymore. Because what we don't like to do or don't like to hear is the fact that I am wrong or that you are wrong. Hence the reason why we're in this debate and this discussion now. I'm trying to point out to you about the immigration bill. You didn't want to hear that. And it's been reported even on Fox that Donald Trump tanked that bill and that it was his fault and that was going to be a challenge. But that's something that you would accept. Because wait, let me finish. I'm using you just as an example. This is what goes around on a normal thing. You just as an example. This is something. And then, so what ends up happening is we go and try and find something that confirms our bias around that situation to make us feel whole because we don't want to be wrong in that situation. I do the same, and I'm sure Sasha and Mark do the same as well. We become our own worst enemies when we continue to keep ignoring the facts and the things just because we want to defend, because we don't want to be wrong. Like how
You're
the
sort
Republican
of just
Party
saying the
right
same
now
thing over
is
and over. Can I
defending
respond?
dogs and cats being eaten.
But you just repeat the same stuff.
No, you want to repeat. You want
Go
to
ahead and respond, Shaq.
You want to respond, Shaquille?
Just a couple of things. Firstly, that was just nonsense about Fox having the most viewers. The reason Fox has the most viewers is because it's the only major outlet which caters to the right. But the
Wait,
collective
you agree
viewership
that
of all
Fox has the most
left-wing-
viewers? So that makes it the mainstream media.
Hold on a
I
second.
mean,
let him respond because
What's
we only got 5 minutes. We only got 4 minutes. I do want to hear from Sasha as well. So Shaquille, go ahead and respond whatever you want. We'll try to make it quick because we only got about 4 minutes.
I will try and make it quick.
I'd like to mention
They are the only one.
No, go ahead, Sasha. Hold on. Shaquille.
They are the only ones on the right, which is why their viewership is so high. But the collective viewership of the mainstream media collectively is I believe bigger than theirs. Now maybe I'm incorrect about that, but certainly there's a lot more left-wing media outlets. Secondly, Jatovi, it wasn't that I didn't want to hear it in relation to the bill. It was that when I say to you I actually know the bill and I don't agree with the conclusion you're making, explain to me very, very slowly everything that happened that I've just told you I already understand, and then deciding to do that a second time isn't going to persuade me. It's not that I don't want to hear it. I just already know it, and I've come to a different conclusion to you. Sasha.
Okay, I'd like to mention something that Fox News, in their materials of defense, they said that they are not a news organization. They are entertainment organization, so they are not reporting news. They are reporting their commentaries to the news. So there is all notion of independence is gone. There cannot be independence. Actually, that probably could be applied to Democrat-leaning stations, simply because each outlet has its owners who are biased one way or another, and that's normal. It's very difficult to see how totally 100% neutral person with any bias all of a sudden for tens of billions of millions, sometimes billions of dollars would acquire outlet. Tell me, when Elon Musk acquired Twitter with the help of Russian money, a lot of Russian oligarchs supplied. He was short in spite of he sold the stock of Tesla, and he was trying to get money elsewhere. He couldn't. So he had to get money from Russian oligarchs in the tune of between $7 and $8 billion. So did he acquire it to be an independent, proper owner? Absolutely not. He's providing heavily influence on Twitter. And that's why Twitter is now rejected by a lot of people, because it's simply too biased towards the right wing. And it's been now closed in Brazil, and there could be many other states where it will be closed. And once that case in France against Pavel Durov, who is already, by the way, cooperating with French authorities. So once that case will be over and done, Elon Musk will be the next one. So the notion of independent media, I think it's a very flawed concept in itself. So if Fox is leaning toward the Republicans and itself not even a news organization, well, you can go and say that yes, ABC and NBC and CNN and all that, that they are biased and they're not totally objective or so on. You can say as much as you want, and probably it's true. But then what? All that plus 75 cents will buy you a cup of coffee. That's all there is to it.
Well, on that note, we're going to get on out of here. It's been a rich discussion, just so that you know, because it's something I pride myself on, and it's based up by Shaquille and Jatovi. But one of the things that I get in my personal email is both Patriot Pride and Act Blue. So that's to show that I try to get viewpoints from both people and everything along those lines, because Patriot Pride is very much of a conservative newsletter and all along those lines. So I definitely try to get sources from a variety of people in order to get the viewpoints from various folks as well. But right now, we're going to get out of here, and we'll check check y'all on it next week and all along those lines. So we'll have, on tomorrow as well. So we'll see you on World Edition tomorrow, but also on some of the other programming, because we got Maxine coming up later on this evening, and that'll be about business coaching and some other shows as well. But y'all have a good day, and we'll catch you on the flip side. I think we've got the timeshare show getting ready to go on as well.